Hey there, geeks! You're listening to Real Geek News,
our bi-weekly podcast where we geek out about all your favorite geeky news in genre entertainment.
I'm your lucky St. Patrick's Day leprechaun, Kevin Andrew Rivera.
And I'm your green-wearing... I'm Raul Ceballos.
Yeah, he is!
My improv is not good right now.
We got 2 weeks worth of news to talk about, so without further ado...
let's get geeky!
I can see it in your face. You're just thinking so hard for that one.
You threw me off, man.
Turning into Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, I would have said leprechaun, but then you said leprechaun.
You could have said Lucky Charms giant.
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll fix it in post. No, we
I'm
won't.
your Jameson drinking... I don't know. Hoity-toity potato. How about that?
And we're canceled. Look at that. we got some Marvel news. You know who else got canceled, Raul? Speaking of which,
that's right.
we got Marvel firing the X-Men 97 creator, my dude. What a great segue. That was so accidental.
That worked out pretty well, yeah.
I am happy with that. Not happy about the guy getting fired, but hey, that all works out in some way. Let's read about it, shall we?
Yeah.
This
is a
comes
doozy.
To us. This is a doozy. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. This is from let me start over.
From the Hollywood Reporter.
St. Patty's Day is really getting to us right now. I had a St. Patty's Day coffee the other day, and it wasn't St. Patty's Day yet.
Are you sure it wasn't Irish cream in your coffee there? Irish whiskey cream?
Oh, it was. So, here we go.
Explains a lot.
Yes. So we got the Hollywood Reporter, Beau DeMaio, a Marvel regular who previously wrote on live-action series Moon Knight, as well as early drafts of the company's delayed but still upcoming vampire thriller Blade, had completed writing duties on Season 2 of X-Men 97, was lining up press and making plans to attend the show's Hollywood premiere on March 13th. He was even discussing loose ideas for a third season with members of his team. But early last week, Marvel and DeMaio suddenly parted ways. His company email was deactivated, and cast and crew were informed he was no longer on the project. DeMaio's Instagram account, once a source for X-Men updates, was deleted. His silence on social media has been acute, as he was a prolific poster sharing X-Men tidbits, as well as shirtless pictures of himself at the gym. For a time, he also ran a non-explicit OnlyFans account, all of which inspired the LGBTQ publication Out to declare him the sexy gay Marvel writer and showrunner to know. Raul, you just got canceled by the Irish. How do you feel about this guy getting canceled?
Well, is this because didn't we find out this is because of the OnlyFans account or no?
So it wasn't officially said that that's the reason why, but a lot of outlets...
still hasn't been, okay.
Right, it still hasn't been confirmed what it was that made him get fired, but people are bringing up this thing, but that's why this quote specifically says he ran a non-explicit OnlyFans account. So, does that mean that is the reason why, or does it mean that Disney was thinking about something else? What do you think about this?
I don't know. I'm kind of torn because I feel like if non-explicit OnlyFans account, I feel like nothing. I don't know if that's the case. If it's not explicit, I feel like this has. I don't know. I feel like this has to be something else, right?
It feels like it has to be,
because I feel like just to have an OnlyFans account, not explicit, wherever, whatever. He's perpetuating, the LGBTQ. As far as I understand it, the LGBTQ movement and all that stuff seems like, I don't know if I'm reading this correctly, a good ambassador of the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, it almost seems like if Disney got rid of him for that reason, then it's like, I don't know if that's appropriate. If Disney
we don't
would do that,
know that, right? We don't know that for sure if that's why Disney got rid of him.
That's
but
why
I mean,
this kind of feels almost like it's a rumor at the same time. Like the fact that we know is that he got fired, but we only have assumptions as to why it happened the way it did.
Yeah.
But, this dude's been working on Moon Knight, and he's working on the thriller Blade that will come out in 2027 at some point, maybe 2552 at that year, once Blade is immortal enough to last till that time.
Right.
but yeah, I mean, this is just kind of, it's a weird thing, man. There's a part of me that kind of wants this show to really succeed, but at the same time, knowing that the guy who made it or worked on it heavily is now no longer going to be part of the project. If this first season turns out incredible, we at least have a second season
Yeah.
to know that the same quality of writing will be there. But what does that mean for season 3? You know?
Yeah. I don't exactly want to speculate about why they fired him
Mm,
because we don't know anything yet, right? So we don't know anything for sure about why he was suddenly let off the project. So I don't want to do too much speculating on this, but I would like to talk about, yeah, what does this mean for X-Men 97 going forward? What does this mean for Blade? Although he wrote the early drafts, right, of Blade, which
right.
now we know have been scrapped, right? Because they brought in a new writer.
Right. Yeah.
Was he was the original writer of the
I
Blade film,
I
right?
believe that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what this means for the show going forward, but I don't
Well,
know.
okay.
No, really, I'm just trying to think.
Here, can I
Yeah.
say this though? This is my problem with this is because we don't actually know what the full details are. Disney has you know what am I trying to say? That it has made for opportunities for fans to make assumptions in their heads, and our assumptions might be worse than what the case might actually be. You know,
Right, right.
maybe
It still doesn't sound good though. In order for because his emails were taken away from him, his email access was shut off, right?
mm,
He deleted his social media. I mean, he's completely gone silent. Whereas before, he was very, very active on social media. So the
mm,
fact that he just goes silent like that is a little strange. And nobody on the Disney or Marvel end, nor his representatives have given any statements or anything like that. It's just a little. There's some concern there, you know.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it just does make you wonder, like, and also this OnlyFans account he had was this something that was just surfaced recently, or is this something that people knew about already? Because if it was something that people knew about already, then it can't be that Marvel fired him because of this OnlyFans account.
Yeah, they probably would have known about it by now.
Right.
You
I
know,
mean,
like.
it would. This sounds to me like it has to be something different.
Yeah, I agree. And also, the one update I know about is that he did re-up his Instagram account again, because
Mm.
they did report here in the Hollywood Reporter that he got rid of it, but this was from I think a week and a half ago. And today, starting today, he opened up his Instagram account again, and nothing informative has really uprisen from what he's been through. But we do know that maybe he had to get rid of things just to not get the attention that was necessary to be given to him or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. The answers are still up in the air. This is an ongoing story, and I'm pretty sure in like the next 2 weeks when we hear more about this, we'll have more stuff to report about it. But it is kind of just a bummer to know that this guy who's working on this thing is gonna be out of here, especially if we watch it and it's incredible. Like if this new
Yeah.
series is really that good. They had the premiere in Hollywood the other
Mm-hmm.
day,
Yeah.
and they were saying that the series is like the first 3 episodes blew people away.
That's
All
what
the
I've heard.
fans in the
Good,
theater were
some
like
good buzz.
huge
Yeah.
X-Men nerds. That's what more could you ask for, you know? And I still have to watch X-Men, the animated series from the 90s or the 80s.
I'm making my way through from the 90s, yeah, from the
From the
90s.
90s. Okay.
Making my way through the first season. Just started rewatching all those shows again. My god, it's just taking me back to being a kid.
I was doing the math, and it's 72 episodes, 21 minutes. It's about 25 hours of footage that you'd have to watch just to binge the whole thing.
All the seasons? Only 25 hours?
Yeah, 20-minute episodes. I mean, that's the thing about us, right? Like as
Oh,
adults, we're so used to watching 45 to hour-long episodes now that when we go back to watch 20-minute stuff, it's like, well,
yeah.
wait, what? Huh? The show's already
Yeah.
over. This is
Yeah,
crazy.
it's jarring. But Kevin, what do you think? Do you think this is going to, because it hasn't come out yet. In fact, it's going to premiere. Today is the 17th, St. Patty's Day. So it's going to premiere on Wednesday, the 30th, right? No. The 20th.
Right.
Sorry, not the 30th. The 20th is going to premiere on Wednesday, the 20th. Do you think? I don't know, and I guess maybe it's still too early because again, we don't know that much about the situation yet and why he was fired. But do you think already this might cast a shadow on the reception of the show, or do you think it? I mean, it won't matter.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Is when we get rid of this guy and we make our own assumptions about like, oh, what bad things did he do? There's also the assumption of was the project bad? Like, did it fail? Like, did Disney not like what he worked on or what he ended up doing with it, and just that's the reason why they fired him? So to me, it makes me
Yeah,
feel shaky. It's kind of like when a movie review doesn't come out until the last minute, you know, where they don't want you to know what's going on until you finally go pay your money to go watch it. So we're gonna, but I don't know. For this, it's weird because it's like this is 2 weeks
but don't you think they
before.
would have said? Don't you think they would have said if it was creative differences? If it was creative differences, don't you think? Yeah, don't you think they would have said it?
I think maybe
They would have announced that because it's like, what's the big deal if it's creative differences? Like, all right, whatever, you
and
know.
then
But to
if
not
it's
say anything,
right, and then if it's something personal that he's going through, I mean, that's something that maybe they wouldn't want to announce the moment the show finally comes out because then it
sure,
takes away from the show.
maybe it's a timing
So,
thing. Yeah,
but then if that's the case, if you fire him now, why don't you just tell us what happened? And then that way that'll be the attention for that
yeah,
time. And then you can move
yeah.
on and start the show, you
That's
know?
true. If the whole reason of doing this and not saying why is because you don't want to cast some kind of shadow over the release of the show, then then firing him and not telling anybody or not us knowing nothing is probably even worse, right? Because now we're talking. This is what we're talking about. Everybody's talking about this now, and not about how the show's coming out. And this news kind of overshadowed the premiere, right? Didn't it? Like the buzz, the good buzz of the premiere. Now we're all talking about this thing.
Yeah. Or also it could also be that they've announced he's fired. They're not going to tell us anything. So now we're caught up thinking about that, but that's going to simmer down and then the show comes out and then we're going to start talking about that now and no one's going to think about the creator anymore.
Sure, probably.
Maybe?
We'll see when X-Men 97 gets released and how the reception and the buzz is on that and how much people will be talking about. I do know the anticipation is huge. The
Mm.
anticipation level, at least in the circles that I'm with, the circles that we're with, is a lot of people are pretty excited about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So I
heck,
know I
again,
am.
I haven't seen the original series really, but I want to watch this series specifically because it looks incredible. And also, it's animated by the guys who work on Legend of Korra. Like it's a
Mm,
South Korean animation company
yeah, it
that's
looks
working on
great.
this stuff. So I only got high hopes for the series. If it ends up being bad though, then okay, that's what it is. But I have a feeling it's gonna be a good show. So
Also, I'm not worried about because what he was all he had finished season 2, writing season
yes,
2.
yeah, and it's already been storyboarded. So they're
I mean,
already at that far ahead in that production. So
I don't know. We'll see how what we think about this first season to kind of make any determination on like, oh my god, like after seeing this first season, like I can't think of anybody who can replace him. You know what I
mm,
mean?
yeah,
Uh, because I mean, I don't know. I feel like there are enough great writers out there that you can find to
yeah.
carry the show on throughout. If they would
Also,
like to continue.
not to mention like you were going off the shoulders of giants, right? Like this original creator for this series is going off the shoulders of the original animated series shoulders, but
Right.
then whoever's going to come after this guy who got fired is going to go off of his work. So now it's like it's just a passing of the baton situation more than you have to originate everything now.
Hmm.
I think they've got the control that they need to have on it for now, and we'll see where that kind of thing goes.
Mm.
You just got to make sure you got a good team because with a good team, you got anything's possible, right, Raul? And so, speaking of teams,
Yeah,
Raul,
there it is.
we got the Teen Titans live action movie is in the works. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Would you like to read this one, Raul?
Sure.
Do it up.
It's go time for the Teen Titans. The DC heroes, which began as the teenage sidekicks of their more famous and iconic counterparts, are getting their own live action feature from the James Gunn and Peter Safran led DC Studios. The comic book movie division of Warner Bros. Discovery has tapped Anna Nogueira Nogueira.
Nogira?
I'm butchering
Noguera?
that. Noguera?
Yeah.
To pen the screenplay for the project. The hiring further ensconces the actress and playwright turned scribe into the DC family as she is already writing Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow for the label. With the addition of Beast Boy and new creations Cyborg, Raven, and Starfire joining Robin and Wonder Girl, the new Teen Titans becomes a massive hit and DC's #1 selling comic. The run matured the characters, defined personalities and relationship, introduced true arch enemies with many themes and ideas that still reverberate in the comics and other storytelling forms in modern times. All right, so Teen Titans live action movie. I have not seen a lot of the Teen Titans or read any of the comics or seen. I've seen a few of the Teen Titans animated shows, and I know that
Mm.
show has a huge following. They've brought that show back. Like they've done different variations of that show over the years, right?
Oh yeah.
In a theatrical film as well. Like it's popular. It has a really large fan base. So to hear that this is not only going to be a live action movie, but this is going to be a live action movie in the DCU, the James Gunn, Peter Safran DCU, which is really interesting. So it's not an Elseworlds thing, right? It's not a Joker Folie à Deux or the Batman. This is going to be in the DCU, which I find very interesting because that was not one of the projects that were announced.
Right.
Um, Way back, over a year ago when James Gunn put out, the slate. But I'm guessing though he said it wasn't the full slate, so I think this is now an announcement of things that might be coming beyond, all the things that he listed out. So the rest of the chapter one, as if you will.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. This is cool. I'm curious to see how this shakes out and how, because you got Robin in there, you've got all these sidekicks, Beast Boy, Raven, Cyborg. How is this gonna relate to like the other films and all that stuff? So you already have Robin, and we assume before that is gonna be Batman, Brave and the Bold.
Mm.
So how does that story connect with this? We know Brave and the Bold, Batman's gonna be dealing with Damian Wayne. Robin's already out there. Anyway, I'll let you talk, Kevin, because we can. I'm talking about all this stuff, but we can have a conversation back.
No,
and
I mean
forth.
you're definitely giving me a lot of thoughts just now because
Okay.
I do think a lot about how, like, the first thing I did when I found out about this news was look up to see if James Gunn tweeted about this yet and confirmed it himself.
Did he?
Because no, well, he didn't. I didn't see anything about him confirming it.
Huh.
Either that or I didn't scroll hard enough. But that's kind of it to me. It's interesting that that's the first thing I have to do now is check to see if the director himself or the producer himself
Right.
has cleared it online, because it's not very conventional of someone to do that as a producer. You don't see Kevin Feige tweeting at people going, yeah, we're gonna do another Iron Man movie. Yep, we're doing another. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that creative control is so specific and used in a very interesting way with James Gunn. But also, what you said earlier, the TV series, the animated series of Teen Titans, before they did Teen Titans Go, they had a dramatic version of it that I grew up watching and I thought was fantastic. Starfire, Robin, Cyborg, Raven, Beast Boy. I mean, you got the whole team there killing it all the time. Also, you can't go wrong with the Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi. Oh, that's the name of the TV series they did. Puffy Amiyumi they did the main theme song to Teen Titans. When there's trouble, you know who to call. And you can't go wrong with that. I mean, if they kind of find a way to throw that in there into this live action movie, that would be so cool. But for me, Teen Titans Go, because I grew up with the original series, Teen Titans Go didn't do it for me because I was like, I want the dramatic stuff, I want to go back to that action-packed stuff. So I think this is a return to form. It almost feels like. Hopefully they take a lot of inspiration from this original Teen Titans series. The Teen Titans have been around since the '60s, so they've got a lot of stories they could tell. Also, the idea of maturing these characters that are supposed to be teenagers all the time. I think that Teen Titans is a really good way to like solidify characters and make them into adults so that they can move into the Justice League eventually.
I do have a question for you because maybe I'm overthinking this, but I wonder if maybe they will already start a little more matured and not be so young because you think about it, you have Robin in there.
Mm.
And I don't know, unless Teen Titans takes place like way earlier, but I'm thinking if we're dealing with Brave and the Bold and Batman is by then has Damian Wayne as his sidekick. I have to imagine Robin has already left the nest, right?
Mm.
And is a little bit older by now.
He
So I
could be
wonder
Nightwing.
he could be Nightwing, but he wouldn't be it wouldn't be Teen Titans, right?
Well, he's been he's played Nightwing in the Teen Titans before in some of the stories.
Nightwing in Teen Titans.
Right, like
Not necessarily
it
as
would
Robin.
be
Okay.
Cyborg, Starfire, Beast Boy, Raven, and Nightwing, instead of Robin. Like that's they've
Okay.
done stuff like that before, and he's still at a teen age, so like maybe he's like
So
an 18-year-old
yeah.
Nightwing, you
And he
know?
could be, you know what? He very well could be like in his older, yeah, right. Not necessarily kid. He's much older, maybe late teens, early 20s. And maybe he is the oldest of the group, kind of leading the younger Titans, right?
Yeah,
He
but
could,
now my yeah, that's true exactly. Yeah, like if
he
he was
could
in
be the
his
leader, the
e-
older kind of
even if he
leader.
was in his late 20s, I feel like it would still be okay just because he's the one that's trying to mature the Titans that
Right.
are teenagers.
So
But
they
at the
very
same
well could
time,
still be teenagers, yeah.
man, my thing about that though is like if you're gonna have Nightwing and you have Damian Wayne, you will need to have already have had Jason Todd and
Right.
Tim Drake as past Robins as well. So that age gap's gonna be very interesting to point out.
Hmm.
Um, or maybe I don't know if they'd ever consider doing this. Have a Damian Wayne slash Tim Drake at the same time, and they're like the same age and they're both competing to be the next Robin, and Batman has to choose between
Yeah.
the two or something. Or maybe Jason Todd's the one competing with Damian Wayne, and then kills Jason
Yeah.
Todd, and blah, blah, you know what I mean? Like,
Clearly, it's so weird. Just this one announcement has made us like start going all over the place as far as speculation, like how that relates to Batman. Look
yeah,
at all the doors and questions this opens up, which is really interesting. Which, no doubt, I assume a lot of people will have the same questions as us, and they'll probably get answered pretty soon because I'm sure James Gunn will be getting a lot of questions about this,
oh
and will
yes.
probably be forced to answer a few of them. So maybe we can just wait and see what he has to say because I'm sure he'll chime in at some point. I was looking too. I didn't see. I'm not seeing anywhere where he announced it on his social media. I mean, I'm still kind of looking, but I don't. Nothing's popping up,
It's also interesting that this news
which is
came out.
strange.
James Gunn announced that they're not going to be showing up to Comic Con this year for
Right.
DC.
Right.
So to
Yes.
me, hearing stuff like this popping up randomly, I'm like, it makes sense now because they don't have to wait till then to announce
Mm,
that kind of stuff. So it's more of just the slow little tidbits while they're
right.
filming Superman currently. Um, I just, man, I really want them to nail Superman so badly because all these announcements are so cool, but it's not going to mean anything if Superman flops in the box office, you
Right.
know? If it doesn't do well, like it doesn't need to be a $1 billion movie. It's got to at least make enough to make money back for whatever they spent on it. But you need it to succeed in order for all this other stuff to happen. But I will be honest, the whole Batman thing, like everything I just said about Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Nightwing, I really love the Batman universe, and I really, really want them to take their time with these stories for these different characters. So if they can figure out how to make it all make sense, great. But at the same time, my brain, I can't help but go back to the idea of like the MCU, how you start at this point in time with all the characters still starting out, and by the time you've done the next 10 years, you've given yourself time to grow these characters so that Robin could eventually become Nightwing, and then we could eventually meet a Tim Drake and a Jason Todd. Jason Todd could have his killing scene where he dies because of the Joker and stuff like that. But
Well,
now we're starting with Damien, so it means all those things that we could experience throughout these next 10 years might have already happened, and we will not have needed a whole 10-year arc for them to do those things.
yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
as far as I know, there hasn't been a date set for Brave and the Bold, has there?
Not exactly. No, I don't think so.
I just wonder if maybe because we know that when James Gunn announced the slate of partially the partial slate of Chapter One, Gods and Monsters, right?
Mm,
He did say it was not the full slate, just partial slate. I
Mm,
wonder if I wonder if the other projects he had in mind that had not been announced at that point, Teen Titans was one of them, maybe a few others that might flesh out the Bat universe that we don't
mm,
know about yet.
right.
You know, maybe a sequel, another Batman sequel that he hasn't announced that might deal with Jason Todd and Tim Drake and all that stuff. I don't
Interesting.
know. And
So
we
you're
just
saying,
don't know yet.
so you're saying like possibly another Batman movie before the Damian Wayne movie?
Maybe, but why would they announce? Now that I think about it, why would they announce
Yeah, I
Brave
mean
and the
that
Bold?
that's where I'm at. Like, if that's
Yeah.
the case, then there's no point in them telling us about the Damian stuff until later, right? I mean,
I,
that's
I wonder if they'll just kind of skip Jason Todd and all that. Kind of like how in the Zack Snyderverse they introduced Batman in Batman v Superman. That had already happened. You know,
right.
you see the Robin suit, you know, with the Joker graffiti on it, and you know, like, oh, this happened. Jason Todd, his death, that already happened.
Oh, what a
I don't
missed
know.
opportunity for Zack
Right though,
Snyder,
I
though,
would
too.
like to see that storyline at some point, you know, portrayed on screen.
Right.
I don't know. It's whatever. It's strange, but we'll again. James Gunn is going to get all sorts of questions over the next few weeks about this for sure. So we'll see what he decides to answer and not answer, which that
Mm.
also might give us some indications of stuff
Oh man.
as
Yeah,
we go on.
I guess I'm just biased because Tim Drake has slowly become my favorite Robin, and
Yeah.
I want to make sure there's room for that guy in there because he's supposed to be the best of us. Like he's supposed to be the next Batman, but better. He's like Batman if he didn't have mental issues. He turns into the Red Robin in the future, and
Hmm.
it's literally just Batman with a red suit, but the black cape and you know the Cape Crusade kind of thing, except no pointy ears as Batman. You know, it's
Yeah.
so cool. He looks so awesome. He's Space Ghost, but with red instead of white. There you go. That's what it is. And he doesn't have guns that I remember. But anyways, yeah, you're right though. It's all a matter of we gotta wait to see what's going on. And apparently, when you wait long enough, you find out that other people have been planning things behind the scenes without you realizing it. And I'm referring to Patty Jenkins because there's a return of Patty Jenkins, a Star Wars movie news to talk about
Hmm.
here. This comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter. This is a quote from Patty Jenkins herself. She says, when I left Star Wars to do Wonder Woman 3 and I started working on that, we talked about, well, maybe I'll come back to Star Wars after Wonder Woman 3, she told the Talking Pictures podcast. So we started a deal for that to happen. So when Wonder Woman 3 went away, Lucasfilm and I were like, oh, we've got to finish this deal. We finished the deal right as the strike was beginning, so I now owe a draft of Star Wars. So we will see what happens there. Who knows? They have a hard job in front of them. What's the first movie since the sequel trilogy they're going to do? They have other directors who have been working, but I'm now back on doing Rogue Squadron. We'll see what happens. We need to see. We need to get it to where we're both super happy with it. The emotion of Star Wars and what it stands for is something so beautiful in this world, she added. Star Wars was born out of World War II. So in that way, I've always wanted to make a fighter pilot movie. So yes, I would love to do it, is what she says. Uh, Raul, how does it make you feel knowing that Patty Jenkins is now claiming that she is coming back when we did report a while back that she was off the table and she's even been trying to cover her bases so that she wouldn't, you know, just get kicked out from Hollywood, basically. How do you feel about all this?
I'm a little confused because I'm trying to think back to the. We should have like made a like a map or something like that of like what happened over the over the past couple of years, all the everything that has happened with this story. Because now I'm trying to remember how things were left prior to this announcement.
Mm,
So she was gonna do Rogue Squadron, then Rogue Squadron got shelved, right?
hmm
And this got shelved like after Wonder Woman 84 came out. Is that when that happened?
So I think it was.
Because were
I,
people speculating for a while that it was because of the poor reception of Wonder Woman 84 that she got let go
yeah,
from Rogue Squadron? Is
but
that
it was at
am I remembering that
the
correctly?
movie was like in limbo after Wonder Woman 3. And I feel like now that I look back on it, it felt more like speculation from us as reporters. Not well, we're not reporters, we're pundits. We're just a couple of nerds,
We're
geeks
just
here talking
guys
about
talking
yeah.
about
We hear
stuff.
the news from the reporters, and then we give our
I
opinions.
would hardly call us I would
Yeah,
call us pundits.
we're just a couple of guys, Puerto Rican guys, just doing our best. But no, I mean, based on what people were saying back then, it felt like they had shelved the movie just because Star Wars or Lucasfilm was trying to figure out what to do with their movies now that the sequels were over,
Right.
and then they were like,
Which makes more
"Oh,
sense.
yeah," and when a director starts getting a lot of flack for like the poor quality of something they put out, like yeah, that has an effect on you. Look at Taika Waititi. The moment Thor 4 came out, you don't see that dude basically working on anything anymore. He had one thing that came out, I think, on Netflix, and that was only because he was already directing that movie before his Thor film came
I think
out.
there was that soccer movie
Yeah,
with
that's the one.
Michael Fassbender.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
that one. Yeah.
That's the one. And he's
Next goal
basically
wins. Yeah.
there doesn't seem to be anything else lined up for him in Hollywood at the moment, because you see how much of a punch a movie can do to you if it's that bad.
Right.
Not saying Thor 4 was bad. It just didn't appeal to a lot of the fans that were
Eh,
watching the movie. Um, I actually watched Thor 4 recently. I don't hate it, but I'm like, it doesn't feel like it's Thor anymore. It feels more
yeah.
like you're trying to be too silly, and all your really good jokes hit really hard during the third movie, and then you ran out of more jokes to make. So
Yeah.
it felt like you were trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice, and it didn't work the second time, which is fine. It was still. It's better than most movies. It's better than Morbius. It's better than Madam Web, right? I mean, there's a bunch we can compare that
That's
to,
true. That's very true.
but again, it's an example that if you mess up in a movie like that, there are consequences to stuff like that. Hence, Patty Jenkins, the way that Wonder Woman 3 happened. My only hope for her is that maybe she learned her lesson from what not to do with this new Wonder Woman movie. Uh, it's an interesting situation. Also,
I don't know, and it's odd that this is coming from Patty Jenkins because if this is true, that she's now back. Not only is she back to do a Star Wars movie, but she's back to do a Rogue Squadron, which okay, that means Rogue Squadron is back on the table, which is strange. Like, why are we not hearing this from Lucasfilm?
yeah,
Why
that
are
is
we hearing
definitely the
this
other
just from
thing.
Patty Jenkins? Why isn't Lucasfilm announced this?
Is she just trying to cover her bases, perhaps?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean,
Yeah, that
I hope it's true. I hope it's true and we got Rogue Squadron back on the table and kind of stabilized, which hopefully would be a sign of like things at Lucasfilm kind of stabilizing. They're trying to figure out, okay, well we put Mandalorian Grogu out first. We got that figured out. Let's figure out all this other stuff that we have just kind of jumbled up here on the table and let's actually sift through it and be like, okay, well Rogue Squadron, okay, we will do that. We'll go ahead and do that. This we'll get rid of. This we'll get rid of. Okay, we'll do that. Maybe they just needed to step back and kind of reevaluate and reassess what they want to commit to and what they won't, what they don't want to commit
right.
to.
It just
Maybe,
felt like she kind of just pulled the trigger because it's like you're probably under NDA. You're probably not supposed to be talking about this in public. Like why would
well,
Lucasfilm allow you to mention that in a podcast when maybe they wanted to announce it during their Star Wars D23 event or something like that. That's for that as I'm thinking business brain wise, like I'm thinking about the shareholders. Like if I want to make sure our stocks stay up, I got to be able to perform this stuff properly and report it at the right time so that blah, it just feels like she's kind of wedging herself in there to make sure people don't know or people know that she's not just this person that's been thrown away like Taika Waititi. She's still there. She's still working on stuff, but like don't forget me. You know what I mean? It's just not the best approach, is what I would have said.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
but
it could very well be true though. I mean, I don't. It could be. We're just speculating, but I don't. It's possible that it isn't just her like saying, "Hey, I still want to do this." I mean, it could be true for all we know, and they just they were fine with Patty Jenkins freely just talking about it.
that too.
Unlikely, but
Mhm.
that could be a possibility. I just
Also,
think it's odd. It didn't come from Lucasfilm.
but also, I'm excited for a Rogue Squadron game or
Yeah,
movie. It was
Yeah,
originally a bunch of games too. So like, the fact that they're trying to make this into a movie thing,
very well received games.
yeah, they're freaking cool. Who doesn't want to see space battles in Star Wars? Those are so epic. But
And with her connection with her father, sorry, Kevin, I was just gonna say with
no,
her
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
connection, her father being a fighter pilot and all these things, like she's got a very, she's very passionate about it. Like
Yeah.
she's not gonna half-ass it. Like you can
No.
tell she's passionate about it. She wants to do this. There's a personal connection with her and this project in particular. So I can only be excited about that.
Yeah, I agree. So, more power to her if it actually ends up working out. Like
Fingers crossed. We'll
I
see.
want the movie to work. I want the movie to work out. I hope she takes notes from what she did from Wonder Woman 2. I think, from what I heard a lot of was like she was like telling DC or Warner Brothers, if I'm gonna work on Wonder Woman 84, now that I did my first movie, I proved myself to you guys. I don't want any producers telling me what to do anymore for this next movie. But the reason why her first movie was so good was because they kind of forced her to add a final boss battle at the end of the movie, which worked. It made the movie work. Like it made the payoff really worth it.
In the first Wonder Woman,
Yeah, supposedly Wonder Woman was not supposed to fight Ares at the end. Like that boss battle was not a thing apparently.
I mean, I felt like it was still a good movie even before the boss battle. Like, I do feel like Patty Jenkins did play a good role in that, and in making it as successful as it was.
Well, the
It's
second
still
movie
a good
was
movie even before.
The second movie was basically, though, the example of what happens when the producers wouldn't step in to help her out with stuff and give her ideas and scenes and stuff like that.
Mm.
So to me, what I'm seeing is hopefully, she'll look at this next Star Wars movie and go, okay, please go ahead, do some production interference. I'm more than happy to hear what you have to say about it. And also, I prefer she has production interference with Lucasfilm because Lucasfilm, that's their baby. Like I want them to make sure that that world stays in place, it stays intact. We don't need the rules of the Force or Star Wars
Right.
changing in any sort of way because she thinks that's the way the story would make it more cool. I'm all for new ideas as so
Yeah.
long as it stays in the rules of what this universe brings us.
I will say though, I trust Patty Jenkins enough. I think she's a good filmmaker in her own right. Just seeing the stuff that she's like Monster. I really enjoyed that movie, and
Hmm.
I enjoyed the first Wonder Woman. I do feel like she did have a good role to play in that, so I am excited about this. Just from that standpoint, and also I will say I do think at the same time, I do agree with you about maybe having there be, I say interference, but that sounds like it's got a negative connotation. But I do think Lucasfilm, for a while, a few of the things that they kind of tripped up on was in the earlier stuff, not interfering enough. And
Hmm.
therefore, there being a disconnect between the higher ups at Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and their directors, right? Because
Hmm.
especially if you look at Solo, with how disconnected Kathleen Kennedy was from the directors of Solo, the original, Phil Lord and Chris Miller,
Right.
the original directors, and how they didn't quite see eye to eye as far as the tone and the direction of the movie. So then Kathleen Kennedy had to step in and switch them out and hire Ron Howard instead. So there is like a kind of like a dance you have to do back and forth, and so there there does need to be a certain amount of, especially with Star Wars, a certain amount of, for lack of a better term, I guess, interference. I don't know, collaboration. We'll say.
Yeah, dude, listen. Even like Marvel is probably the king of interference because every movie has to connect to the other movies that they're working on. So
Right.
Kevin Feige has to be on top of you, telling you how to make sure. Oh, make sure this happens here, and then this scene needs to happen like this, and blah blah blah. And then at the end credits, make sure to add blah 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 because we need to set it up for blah blah blah. Like Lucasfilm is literally setting up a Marvel Cinematic Universe for themselves as well. I mean, they're basically making a Star Wars Cinematic Universe and they're following under the footsteps of Marvel. So you kind of have to be in that situation as well. That's like the some of the only times that where I would say that's okay to do. Um, Other movies, I mean, I don't know how else Jordan Peele wants to do his movies, but good for him if he doesn't have his studio interference. James Gunn has said out loud plenty of times that Kevin Feige this was one of the only movies where Kevin Feige wouldn't give any interference to James Gunn because James Gunn created the universe of outer space for the MCU. Basically, James Gunn created the Infinity Stones. James Gunn, or not invented them, but you know what I'm saying. He wrote them in to the universe. But when you got someone like Patty Jenkins with that kind of track record right now, you wanna take your time and be careful. That's all. But that all being said, we got our next topic here, which is Venom 3 gets new title and release date. This also comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter. Director Kelly Marcel's Venom: The Last Dance hits theaters October 25th. Sony announced Tuesday. Starring Hardy, Juno Temple, and Chiwetel Ejiofor, the film had been untitled and moves up 2 weeks from its previous release date of November 8th. Hardy returns as the Marvel antagonist that he originated in 2018's Ruben Fleischer's directed Venom. Andy Serkis took over directing duties on the 2021 follow-up, Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Marcel is making her feature directorial debut after earning writing credits on both earlier movies. So,
Can I just say, well, first of all, is this episode sponsored by The Hollywood Reporter? This is like
yes, it 100% is.
This is all
100%. They are hitting like a home run in all these reports, so they're killing it. But yes, how do you feel about all this, Raul?
I hate this title. I really don't. I don't. This might as well be called Venom: Step Up to the Streets. Like this is really. I don't know. I mean, what can we extrapolate from this? The Last Dance. I mean, it seems to indicate to me, well, the last Venom movie.
Yeah.
The ending of a trilogy.
They have definitely made it very clear this is the final Tom Hardy Venom film. So
until we see him show up in a crossover film, inevitably at some point.
I wouldn't be surprised if
unless
Sony,
this movie shits the bed.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see about that. But what do you think about them pulling up the dates 2 weeks earlier?
Well, this is it true? Because the Batman was pushed back. Is this the release date? Are they taking up the release date that the Batman 2 originally had before it got pushed back a full year?
That's a good question.
I think I may have heard that it's taking over that empty slot now that the Batman 2 used to have. But yeah, I like that Juno Temple and Chiwetel Ejiofor. This is interesting. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in this too. Which is cool. I love both of them. Tom Hardy, of course, he's great as Eddie Brock. I love him in the first two. That's the thing. I thought the two Venom films, the first one, I liked it. I liked it enough. The second one, it was okay. But I will say that I enjoy watching Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, especially watching his, chemistry back and forth with Venom. With the Venom symbiote. I love watching them together. And I don't know if you've seen, there was some on-set video that was released that was leaked online of Eddie Brock doing a scene where he's like getting out of a taxi, but he's like, being jerked around he's like arguing with Venom and but there's no Venom yet, right? It's just like on somebody recording with their phone on set, and it's just Tom Hardy just like writhing around and talking to nobody, but the dude commits, like he goes all in on it. And it was really fascinating to watch, but I love his performance in these movies. Great Juno Temple. I loved her in Ted Lasso. She was a very, very endearing character and very funny. And Chiwetel Ejiofor, I really like him as well. I mean, everything he's done has been amazing. He's already in the MCU as Mordo.
That's true.
So I don't know what they're trying. If they're trying to, are they connecting this with the MCU? I don't know. Who knows? But it wouldn't be the first time, because we've seen Josh Brolin in the Fox universe as Cable, but also as Thanos, and they're about to mesh those two universes together. So who cares at this point, right?
Yeah. What about Kelly Marcel? How do you feel about her as being the director, as a first-time director too?
So this is her first time directing anything, like not even like
that's what we say here.
Short films.
She's making her feature directorial debut after earning writing credits on both earlier films.
That's interesting. So she wrote on the earlier films at least.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's hard to say because we know Sony has not had a great track record lately about picking writers and directors to do their films.
Mm.
So
They hit it out of the park with Andy Serkis, so I'm not sure
well,
why
okay,
the
with
third one
Andy
we kind of
Serkis, yeah.
we kind of
Well,
dipped a
well,
little.
Well, I wouldn't say we dipped yet because we don't know. We don't know how well she is as how good she is as a director. For all we know, this movie could be great, and she will have done a fantastic job on it. But we just don't know. But it is interesting, like she is familiar with the stories and all that stuff. She has writing credits on the first two films. Yeah, I don't know. I I would normally say there must be something. If Sony chose her to direct this movie, she must have some kind of thing there is. But then again, they also chose the writers from Morbius to also write Madam Web, and we all know how that turned out. So I don't know. I can't really trust Sony's judgment when it comes to the talent that they hire to produce these films. So we'll see. I do find it a little. I'm a little hesitant about it because she's a first-time director.
What are your thoughts on what are the chances that Kelly Marcel becomes the writer for future Morbius movies or a Madam Web movie or anything else Sony might have planned? What about for El Muerto, which might actually be coming back from the
I don't think
dead?
everything you listed, Madam Web sequel, Morbius sequel, El Muerto, none of these are happening. I'm telling you, none of these projects are going to happen. So that's a moot point.
There seems to be a very interesting touch to this title of The Last Dance because I feel like it doesn't just mean to me Tom Hardy's done playing Venom. It could also mean to me that maybe the Sonyverse is over. Like maybe the whole plan they had in mind might be done, or all their Sonyverse movies are over because now these characters from the Sonyverse are going to be in the MCU and Kevin Feige's going to take care of business now. Maybe.
I don't know if Sony's going to. Because that's the thing. Sony is working so hard to try and make Spider-Man films in their own right without Spider-Man.
Right.
Which is not going well, but they are their feet dug into the sand about trying to. No, well, okay, fine. They've got Tom Holland, Spider-Man. We can't use Spider-Man. Fine. We're going to make our own Spider-Man films without Spider-Man. They've been so adamant about this. For them to all of a sudden just like fold and be like, no, all right, you can have them. You can have them, Marvel.
Madam Web was a big hit, though, man, and not in a good way.
You mean like a blow? It was a big blow.
It was a bad blow. Like I mean, that was
right. Yeah.
To me, it's just such a the only thing.
I feel like Sony's so stubborn, though. I don't know if this will. Deter them anyway.
Well, they're definitely stubborn if they try to make a Madam Web movie, and try to save themselves from that. But like, there's even like the question of like, what about the Vulture with Michael Keaton? Why is he in the Morbius universe? Michael Keaton doesn't even know it, and he's said this in interviews that he has no idea what's going on. Though he said in the interviews, not even the directors understood how to explain it to him because they didn't get it either. They were just told that that's what they had to do. Like that's just, I'm just
it's infuriating. Yeah,
I'm so worried that now that with Marcel, like, listen, you're right. I can't judge her, but I can judge the fact that this is her first time doing a movie, and you're gonna let her do the ending of a trilogy. Like that's what you're gonna start her off with for her directorial debut.
Right.
Like, wouldn't you rather?
At least why not get Serkis back?
Yeah, like maybe Serkis is a little busy doing other stuff, but like,
yeah, he is.
Like The Last Dance, Venom: The Last Dance. I want it to be good. Chiwetel Ejiofor being in it, great. That's cool. Listen, all I'm hoping that comes out of this is that once this trilogy is over, Sony just goes, okay, you guys win. We're done. We're done trying to connect it. But Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock is going to be in the MCU, except it's not going to be our Eddie Brock. It's going to be Kevin Feige's Eddie Brock of Tom Hardy. So it's a different character entirely. He just
Yeah.
happens to be the same actor that plays him in
One
this
who actually
multiverse.
works for the Daily Bugle.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because man, you're setting up so many cool things for Peter Parker now. Now that he's officially the Spider-Man at the end of No Way Home, he's gonna be an adult now. He's no longer in school. He has to work for the Daily Bugle and stay close with the news outlets and stuff like that. He's gonna have to go head to head with Eddie Brock. All these things are being set up so perfectly now that Sony is literally being given a silver platter, and Kevin Feige's like, come on, just give me your toys now and I can play with them now. I can play with the rest of them. And if Sony just goes, no, then I'm going to be like, come on, Sony, give him a chance. Anyways, I'm going to blow out my voice if I keep screaming. So that is, I've got strong opinions about it. I
They
will
still
say
got,
this.
yeah, go ahead.
I'll finish it off with this, and then I'll let you do your thing here. I adore Sony's animation side. Like the
Oh,
animation side of
absolutely.
Sony is so good. They blow me away every time, whether it's TV series or film. It doesn't matter. Those guys knock it out of the park every time.
Yeah.
But
You almost forget that it's the same Sony making those films. They might as well be a different studio altogether making the Spider-Verse animated films. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's just so weird. There's such a disconnect. Like why can they get their shit together with these films but not with these films? I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I think maybe it's, to me, like animation wise, you just see how long it takes them to work on that stuff. So like it is a longer process than the on camera stuff, I'm sure. So I can only imagine how much more nitpicky control they must have on the live action since it comes out sooner. And they don't let the animation, or they don't let the live action people take their time as much as the animation people do. But I don't know. This is
You were saying, I was going to bring up, because you were saying that you speculate that maybe after Venom 3 they're just going to fold and what do you mean, like stop making Spider-Verse movies, like stop making live action Spider-Man movies?
I
Is that what
think.
you're,
Well, it
because they
sounds
still
like.
got Craven
Also,
coming out.
so that's true, and God, am I not looking forward to that right now.
Yeah.
I am just so worried about them.
And like with all these characters that they're setting up, just if you're a studio, Madam Web, you're hoping that becomes its own franchise. Venom has already become its own franchise. You want Morbius to be its own franchise. Why start Craven unless you expect it to continue being its own franchise? Multiple films stemming from each of these spin-offs. So if you're coming out with Craven, the first movie at the gate, why are you already thinking about folding? You know, unless they just do a 180 and release, before Craven comes out, be like, you know what, we're just gonna, I don't know, wait to see how Craven does. I don't know. I don't know.
I'll say this:
Sony, I just feel like they're too stubborn to do this.
if Craven flops, then Sony is probably going to be done with their Sonyverse. Is what I think. Like I understand the idea of like we have to make or Spider-Man movies because we're under contract that we have to do whenever so often. But like if it's this bad, like if it just keeps flopping like this and you're now hurting the superhero genre by doing this constantly,
Right.
you might as well find a different medium to do this live action stuff. For example, their Amazon series stuff. They're working on the Spider-Man Noir series, which Nicolas Cage might possibly be the lead for. Possibly?
Are they?
Maybe? They're making
we just heard one announcement about it.
They have the Silk series. They've got the Silk series. They also have a possible Spider-Woman series as well. But again,
I'm not confident about any of these projects, Kevin.
My point is like, if the movies don't work, switch to streaming and TV series. Like that's because to me, the TV series it differentiates from the films. Like I know Disney Plus has their Marvel TV series, but like they made that very specific that these are connected to our films. But you can go and do TV series and just go, that's their own thing. Like that's its own universe. It's not going to be CW content quality. It's going to be better than that, I would hope. But it's going to be Sony focusing on the TV world now more than the film world because, that maybe that's how they pivot. Maybe that's what they have to do. But you're right, though. We have to wait until Kraven the Hunter comes out. Because for all we know, Kraven the Hunter might be a godsend for Sony, and it's going to change everything for them. And then they're going to realize how important it was to have put Kraven in there in the first place, and then do a Kraven versus Venom movie, and then blah, 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 blah. Call it whatever you got to call it.
Or it just might be a little too late. I don't
You-
know. I'm so
yeah.
glass half empty with Sony right now. I
I
have no faith.
Craven should
Maybe
have Craven should
maybe
have been the
Venom
second
3
movie.
will maybe Venom 3 will, do really well because those movies have tended to do pretty well so far. But with anything else, they just other than the animated Spider-Verse, I'm just so disenfranchised, I guess. I'm so like I don't know. I'm so turned off by the Sony stuff right now. I don't have any
Oh
faith.
yes.
I'm glass half full about Sony. We'll see. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
listen, if it means they got to start canceling their Sonyverse stuff, I'm okay with it. Like I'm not gonna be mad at them for it. Like I want good content, and if you feel like you can't make good content anymore, just stop working on that stuff anymore. Move on to the next thing and make that stuff better. And whatever you got to do to make your quality as high as possible, do it. Which actually brings us to our final topic here today, our fifth main
Mm.
topic, which is also our
Now settle in, folks. It's time for the rumor reel.
It's our rumor reel topic as well. Disney cancels Marvel movies? This comes to us from not the Hollywood Reporter, Screen Geek. Screen Geek says here, the MCU movies were allegedly canceled by CEO Bob Iger, which does line up with previous statements made by Iger that Disney has canceled some projects from being made. This report comes via insider Daniel Richtman. According to Daniel Richtman, a social media pundit, while Feige wanted some of these films to be made, Iger decided to put a stop to them in fear of producing a guaranteed box office bomb. Again, this lines up with previous statements made by Iger himself that Disney would produce films that were less risky for the company. Interestingly, the MCU movies rumored to have been canceled are all sequels. The films include Ant-Man 4, Captain Marvel 3, and Eternals 2. It's Eternals 2 in particular that Kevin Feige wanted to move forward with, though Iger didn't allow him given the outcome of its predecessor. Listen, if this is all rumor, that's fine. But let's assume for just a second that those three movies were actually canceled. I'm all for it. I'm okay with that because I don't care for any more Ant-Man movies. I saw Captain Marvel 2, which was the Marvels, and while it was fun, it didn't feel like the magic was there. And then Eternals 1, the first Eternals movie, I just felt like there was something missing in there that didn't feel like a Marvel movie to me as well, which I think is what they were trying to go for, but at the same time
It
that kind
should
of
have been a
deters
series,
you.
really.
Yeah, it should have been a series. That would have been great. But I agree with Bob Iger in this situation because listen, we just talked so much smack about Sony and their Sonyverse and saying that what they got to do is get rid of a bunch of stuff and just hyper focus on one thing and just work on that. Now here's Bob Iger doing that possibly, and I have a good feeling about this because it to me it feels like the leadership is there, like there is control. They know what they're doing. It feels like it's boosted my morale for what's to come for Marvel. Heck, this year alone we're only getting one Marvel movie, Deadpool 3, which we know is going to explode in a good way. It's going to be $1 billion box office movie. So they're playing their cards right. They're taking it easy. They're playing defensively and protective, which makes so much sense. They have been bombarded by bad quality stuff for the past couple of years now. It's time to start improving. Come on, Sony, take the notes from Bob Iger. Look what he's doing. Come on, do what they gotta do. Anyways, Raul, what do you think about this rumor? Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? Are you angry? Are you in love? Are you excited for everything that's about to come? What's happening?
I mean, I believe it because Bob Iger says it's been happening. He says they've been quietly canceling films. He hasn't said specifically whether they're Marvel films or they're Star Wars films or just regular Disney stuff. But let's be honest, it's probably a little bit of all of it, a little bit of everything. Um, so as far as the MCU is concerned, so this is interesting. So Ant-Man 4, Captain Marvel 3, Eternals 2, which they did announce a while back. What else do you think it could be, though? because
Like what other movies they could have canceled?
movies or shows. Because let's look at. I'm trying to think off the spot. Like, what else have they got? That they've an Ironheart. Ironheart.
I
We
mean, I
got
wouldn't.
Armor Wars,
Hmm.
which is supposed to be, which was a TV show. Now it's a movie. That remember Vision Quest that was announced.
Oh yeah.
Uh, a series but just about Vision. A Moon Knight season 2, which I actually don't know if that was officially confirmed, but there was heavily rumored that that might be happening. What else do you think could be on the chopping block here? I mean,
I mean,
what
everything you just
realistically?
listed, literally everything you just listed to me in my head. In my head, I was like, "Yep, makes sense. Yep, makes sense. Yep, cut that. Yep, makes sense." Like, it's my problem right now is that the MCU has so many branched stories going on now that it's just so overwhelming for regular audience goers. When I talk about Marvel now to people about just any movie that's coming up, usually the response, like from people who aren't Marvel fans, when I talk about those things, they're like, "Ah, well, that's like another multiverse thing, right? Is that what they're doing? They're going into space or some time travel? I don't get it." And that's just the constant negative feedback I get because there's just so much going on right now. I'm all for doing more content, but at the same time, if I have to keep track of 72 episodes of X-Men just to watch something like this, then it's so intimidating. You know what I mean? Like you only want to give attention to it if you truly care for it. And so Bob Iger, I think, is doing a really good job in saying, let's do things that people will go, oh my God, I need to see that. Nobody wanted to go see Ant-Man 3, is what I think. I think people wanted to see Ant-Man 3 only to see what Kang the Conqueror was going to be like. But then
Yeah,
you neuter Kang the Conqueror by the end of the movie, and suddenly Thanos is no longer a threat. Like it's not, he's not this Thanos level thing anymore. And so now, what am I looking forward to at this point? Am I looking forward to just an army of little Kangs that are all angry men? Like there's so much happening. There's so much. And also, let's go to Captain Marvel 3. What are we going to do in Captain Marvel 3?
this is
Are
actually
we,
the first time I had heard about anything Captain Marvel 3 related,
well,
or Ant-Man
well,
4.
because
I had
like
not.
that's Captain Marvel 3 feels like it's this thing that's in the air of like, hey,
Yeah,
well, how did Captain Marvel 2 do? Not good. Not good at all. Why would we waste money making a third one? For the art. Listen, the art is awesome, but it doesn't mean much to the business that's putting this together. They will go bankrupt if they keep making it just for the art. They have to make money off of this stuff. How can they hype us up enough to get us to go to the theaters and watch these movies? Eternals 2 didn't really do that well in the box office either. It did okay. It was like that was like an average box office, like less than Ant-Man, I think is what they were saying. So like that's just it only makes sense money-wise from Bob Iger's perspective. You got to make money so that you can make cool movies. So if I can't be making money by making these not cool movies, how am I going to make my cool movies? We got to start cutting, spending less that we can't risk on anymore. I would argue Iron Man 1 was the biggest risk of all time in Hollywood because they were trying to expand this entire universe with this one guy made of iron, and look how that worked out. Great. Sometimes the risk is really worth it if you know you have a plan, and that's been the main problem with the MCU right now for Phase 4 is that there's no plan. We don't know what's going on. Maybe there is a plan, and they've just not been able to activate this sequence of events properly enough for us to understand what's happening and give us hype. There is no hype. The hype's disappearing. Man, there's even rumors about Shang-Chi 2 possibly
I was
happening,
going to bring that up. Yep.
with Iron Fist possibly being in it. That's a rumor.
If
Okay.
right, if that happens, yeah.
So, this my brain's exploding from the frustration because there's people I've heard people online who are already complaining about these movies getting canceled, but then I go, but who else wants to see these movies? Like, why? I want to see more Deadpool. I would love
Right.
to see Deadpool in more things. I want to see more Spider-Man. Hell, I'm excited to see Captain America 3. That's going to be cool. I'm excited to see what
Yeah.
a new Captain America is going to look like.
Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolts? if you drop Deadpool into Thunderbolts, like if the end of Deadpool 3 sets us up that he's going to join the Thunderbolts, and that's why they haven't been giving us that much marketing for Thunderbolts lately, great. I'm going to go watch Thunderbolts. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be awesome. If you give us another type of Hulk thing, give us a Thor movie again, but bring back Thor. Don't bring back funny Chris Hemsworth anymore. Bring us back Thor. Give us like Thor, or what's it called? God of War Ragnarok vibes. Like give us
Mm.
badass, murderous, like destroying giant monsters, being like 1980s animated superhero, like GI Joe level badassness. Give us stuff that we're gonna be so hyped for. Now is the time to really reel us back in. Uh, that's my piece, though, Raul. Any other thoughts from you, though?
No, I mean, I do believe a lot of these Marvel projects that they announced um, are probably have some of them have probably seen their end. But yeah, you brought up Shang-Chi too. Man, I hope that's not a scrapped one. Um,
I don't think it
because I
is.
feel like they need to keep, because I feel like one of the missed opportunities that they've done with these past two phases is they have not kept, they've just been focusing on a different character each time, each project. And it's like, all right, we're just getting characters thrown at us, but when are we going to go back and revisit these storylines and have some of them kind of guide us through the phases, right? Like we still haven't seen a Shang-Chi 2. Like that was the second movie that was released in the beginning of phase 4, right? Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Black Widow and then Shang-Chi. So how come we have not revisited Shang-Chi? It really did seem like Shang-Chi was going to be one of the characters that was going to step up and kind of lead the new team of Avengers whenever the hell that comes together.
right.
So I feel like we should. It's just too much like introducing too many new characters and not enough on going back and revisiting certain characters so that we have like an anchor that we can establish and be like, okay, and just like allow us to connect with these characters more. So like so we
Mm.
go back to Shang-Chi, do a Shang-Chi 2. Okay, great. I know this world. Let's see what let's just this is all familiar. This will help kind of guide me through the narrative and all that stuff. I'm surprised we have not had a Shang-Chi 2 by now.
Mm.
So I don't know. I do worry, but I'd like to think that they're gonna keep that one. And hopefully just announce it sometime between now and Secret Wars.
I think I can
Again,
kind of
there are a few unannounced projects
I
that
can
they
kind of give you some comfort with that because there's like a tweets by Simu Liu who plays Shang-Chi, who they people were asking him like, "Hey, are we gonna get a Shang-Chi 2 or what?" And he himself tweeted back and said, "Yeah, like of course, yeah, there's gonna be." And it's like that's like something to go off of. It's not like the producers themselves said it, but like he knows something behind the scenes where it's like, "Don't worry, it hasn't been shut down yet. Like you're still good. We're making a Shang-Chi 2. It's coming." But also, let me throw this other thing behind here because there's the idea of all the behind the scenes stuff and problems that Marvel has been having have made it more difficult for them to figure out what the next story should be. I don't know if you knew about this. Shang-Chi, Simu Liu tore his Achilles tendon. So he's been in the
ooh.
middle of recovery for that as well.
Is that
Uh,
recently?
this was fairly recently. He had
Oh,
surgery recently. When he went up at the Oscars, he was in the "I'm Just Ken" song, and he
right.
was dancing. And there was like a big report about how like he still had a torn ligament, like his tendon was still healing, and he decided to go in there to do the dance for Ken.
Oh,
And so it's like that's a lot of stuff you got to think about. Like if we want to
I did
put out a
not know
Shang
about
Chi
that.
2, yeah, I mean, if you want to bring him in for something, it can't be too wild right now. We're all just human. Like as in a perfect world, I think if we just had the magic of comics, we could just make a Captain America storyline again and just put it out because we can draw Captain America and put it out. But now it's like the actors have their own lives where maybe the way that they're living their lives is affecting the way the movies can be made as well. We don't have Chris Evans anymore. Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. is too old, and he just got an Oscar. Why would he want to come back to the MCU kind of thing, There's so many other things like that. Jonathan Majors is now fired from Marvel because of previous history that he has had events with. In a perfect world, every actor is just perfect and no one can, do any wrong, and then we can just get our movies out and get them going. But sadly, this is not the world we live in, Raul. But that's also the beauty of us being human, that we can all, create such beautiful things and still work around each other. So all I'm trying to say is I'm tired.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, good. Well, then, you know what I do when I'm tired is I watch movie trailers, Raul.
Really?
Yeah, actually, on
And you don't
occasion.
fall asleep?
Never. I never would
Oh.
fall asleep to any trailer ever. Not even Madam Web, the trailer. So we got here, we got 3 trailers that we want to bring up today. One is The Crow. The second one is Franklin. And the third one is Inside Out 2. Now, I want to start off with The Crow because, goddamn, Bill Skarsgård, that dude gets so much good work now. Every time I see him in a trailer for anything, he's incredible. What was the name of the one that we just talked about 2 weeks ago?
Boy versus World or something like that?
Boy versus World. And then this one
Yeah.
drops, the Crow trailer drops, and it's another action flick that he's in.
He's
How
getting
much
jacked. Yeah.
Dude, this dude is killing it in the action scene right now. My God. And he looks great. He looks awesome. The concept of the story for The Crow makes so much sense to me. And this was, I think, a teaser trailer for like
That's
a minute
really
and a
cool.
half.
It was like a red band trailer too. It was like you saw all of the bloods.
I'm so in for it. Like, I want it. I've never seen the original Crow, so
It's
maybe
been
I'll
a
just
while
watch this
since
one.
I've seen it. It's been a minute, but yeah, it's notorious for the the story of Brendan Lee, son of Bruce Lee,
Oh,
the
yeah.
legend. For him, the onset death of Brendan Lee and how they had to finish the film without him, and it's a very well known story. But
Also,
yeah,
fun fact, I just watched the Wolverine Origins, or Wolverine Origins? Yeah,
X-Men
Origins.
Origins Wolverine.
That's the one. And the main bad guy who plays Stryker in there is also the main bad guy in The Crow.
Yes. What's his name? Something Houston. Jack
Yeah,
Houston.
I,
Houston. I want to say.
that
Yeah.
might be it.
Yeah.
He has not aged a bit
He
from
looks exactly the same.
Yeah, he looks exactly like he did in X-Men Origins. But I was like, yeah, I'm all for it because like I already hate the guy. Like he's so good at being hateable. So I'm looking forward to him getting murdered by the Crow, where your soul reaches that undead world and you come back to life to murder. I mean, that's cool, man. He cannot die until he fulfills his goal to kill the ones that killed his loved ones. Anyways.
Yeah. It's good. No, it's really cool, and it's so weird. It's like Bill Skarsgård has gone so far away from like that skinny, scrawny, creepy looking guy. You know, when he started off as Pennywise and all that stuff. And he was like really skinny and scrawny for a while, but now he's like getting jacked and he's like doing these action films. And
My God.
good for him. Let's see how he does in these in the action realm. From what I've seen from both the trailer for the Boy versus World and The Crow here, it looks pretty cool. It looks like the action will be really insane.
Yeah, definitely. Now, outside of the action stuff, what did you think about Franklin? Because this is a show on Apple TV that's coming out with I'm blanking out on his name, Michael
Douglas.
Michael Douglas as
As
Benjamin Franklin. How did you feel about this one? Because I thought this was really fascinating.
It looks really interesting. I'm trying to, because so he's like, is this is just like we're taking liberties with historical, right? This is more
Yeah.
historical fiction. I really liked it. I don't know. I feel like I need to see more, but it's really cool seeing a different side of what we know to be Ben Franklin, and just a little bit of what does he do? He's like he's like doing like a secret spy mission kind of shit.
Yeah,
Like,
it feels
it's
like
kind of like
it's very dramatic, like a game of chess with the French, you know?
Right. It's really interesting, and we don't know. You know, these are, I guess they're taking liberties with history here, but it looks pretty interesting. I might check it out.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? I don't know. It's kind of like I
My
watched
initial
it. It looks interesting. I don't know too much about uh, Benjamin Franklin other than like the general stuff that we all tend to know about him.
Mm.
So I don't know. I'm like, okay, we'll see.
I saw the episode or the series Adam with
John
Paul
Adams,
Giamatti, the
Paul
John
Giamatti.
Adams show.
Yeah.
Yes, and Ben Franklin is in the show with him. John Adams goes to Paris as well with Benjamin Franklin to talk about all the treaties and whatever to help them with the war. And Benjamin Franklin in that series is a lot more laid back and silly. Whereas
Mm.
this version of Benjamin Franklin is like, we're gonna play a game, like we're gonna
Yeah.
play a game of chess, and we're gonna
He's like a
kill
very
everyone.
calculating kind of, yeah, like
Yeah, so
it gave me like spy movie vibes, but set in the, you
yeah,
know,
so I'm
during that
intrigued.
time.
The only
Yeah.
downside is like I don't have Apple TV, so I have to get that if I want to watch it.
Mm.
Which, man, we live in a day and age where there's so much streaming stuff that I feel like I don't have time to watch everything and buy
Yeah.
everything, but we'll see.
And we're paying more for streaming now than we did with cable, so
My God, right?
it's getting worse.
Well, then
But
the
yeah,
last one though was Inside Out 2. I want to hear your
Inside Out
thoughts on this.
2.
How do you
No,
feel about the Inside Out 2 trailer?
it looks great. It looks I'm really excited for it. I think I love the new stuff that they introduce. Just like the brilliant kind of things that they introduce with the different the new emotions and like envy, and you've got what is like, embarrassment, and like what is the one the I don't remember what the name of it is, but it's basically boredom,
Oh,
right?
there's envy,
Ennui,
embarrassment,
ennui, I think,
ennui,
which is boredom.
and anxiety.
Anxiety. That's right. That was the other
Yeah,
one. That's the one that's voiced by Maya Hawke, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it looks great. And I love the brilliant joke with the it's this big kind of chasm, right? The sarcasm.
Yeah.
And I got such a kick out of the sarcasm. It's a sarcasm. And of course they're like yelling across the chasm to the other person, and to them they're hearing like, oh, it just sounds sarcastic. You could be saying it so genuinely and earnestly, but they're hearing it like as like really thick sarcasm, like,
Totally.
oh, so good to see you guys. Like I think I thought that was a brilliant addition. I think it looks great. I'm excited to see this should be comes out when? June?
I think so. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I'm excited about it. I'm not like, oh my God, I can't wait to see this. Because the first one was so good, they caught lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And I just worry that because Pixar recently hasn't had the strongest couple of movies recently, I'm worried that this one isn't as good as the first one. But I want to give it a chance because I want it to be as good as the first one, and I think it will be. I'm a little on the skeptical side. That's my level of hype is there. It's just not through the roof at the moment. That's all.
I mean, the potential for like the the heartwarming kind of, because you see all the jokes and all the funny stuff, but it's gonna have heart, right? Because the first
Yeah,
one did, and just the potential because of the premise of it. Riley is a teenager now. She's getting older. She's having new emotions, and the potential for the drama, quote unquote, that you can mine from that. It's great. There's a lot that you can potentially get there, and so I'm hoping that they do a really good job balancing that out, and I'm sure there's gonna be some heartstring tugging moments, but yeah, just getting the balance right, you know
mm.
as Pixar does tend to do. Lately they haven't been doing as great, but I mean, well, they did what is it, Seeing Red, Turning Red.
Oh, Turning Red, great
Turning
story.
Red.
Yeah.
I always get that mixed
That
up.
was one of those Pixar movies where I was like, man, why'd they put it into like why did it go to streaming? They should have just
Right,
been
right,
in
right.
theaters. But again, I think that problem is being solved now with Bob Iger. So that's thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob Iger, for saving Pixar and making them cool again. Not that they were not cool before; they were always cool. Just you know what I'm saying?
Giving them the theatrical releases that they deserve. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. Well
Yeah,
then.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well then, with that all being said, everybody, we made it to the end. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can follow us on all social handles at Real Geek News, at Kevin A. Rivera VO, and at Raul Ceballos VO.
That's right. And hey, Kevin, guess what? We have a YouTube channel. That's right.
We do!
That's where we post all our full episodes and our individual segments. So go on there, hit the bell, and subscribe.
Heck yes. And let us know how you feel about our show with reviews on Apple Podcasts and our email, realgeeknews@gmail.com.
Yeah, if you want, just send over a question if you like, and we might read it on the show. Look at that. Might. Well, we probably will.
Probably will.
We need to fill any more time.
Yeah, totally, exactly. Well, then, with that all being said, stay safe, stay classy, and most important of all,
stay geeky, my friends.